This is Transit Unplugged. I'm Paul Comfort. Great to be with you on this 200th episode of the Transit Unplugged podcast. Recently recognized by Chartable as one of the top 200 podcasts in the world, we've been bringing you insightful interviews with transit leaders for the last 5 years, and today is no exception. For our 200th episode, we interview in-depth Eulois Cleckley, who is Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Miami-Dade County Department of Transportation and Public Works. And it is a great interview. Eulois tells us about the world's largest advanced traffic management system project that they're undertaking under the auspices of his department. They're upgrading 3,000 intersections with the latest and greatest technology in Miami-Dade. Also a look at what urban air mobility could mean for the Miami area and for other cities across the country. We talk about their microtransit program, Go Connect, and how it's filling in gaps in the mobility mosaic in the city, and how they're pulling out all the stops for attracting and retaining operators. Plus a look at the recently held CoMotion event right there in Miami and what it meant to them and the political leadership of the region. All that on this 200th episode of Transit Unplugged. Great to be with you on another edition of the world's leading transit executive podcast, Transit Unplugged, in depth this week with Eulois Cleckley, Director and CEO of the Department of Transportation and Public Works at Miami-Dade, Florida. Paradise. Great to have you with us, Eulois.
I'm very glad and happy to be here, Paul. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I was in your office last week during the CoMotion event down there, and you've got a big operation, and it was very exciting, the event that you all hosted down there, CoMotion Miami. Tell me some about that and why you all wanted to host it.
Yeah, sure. So CoMotion Miami is an event that really brings together all of the leaders in the transportation industry with a focus on technology and innovation. And as we all know that for the past decade or so, even more than that, the way in which our transportation system is modernizing itself, utilizing technology is really the future of transportation. And so Miami, I think everybody knows, is a technology hotbed. And it just makes sense that we end up in a position where we're hosting that type of excitement around innovation. And so this past year's event was well attended. Usually for CoMotion, it's at 2 different locations per year. And so we're happy to partner with LA as we did last year. And so for this year, there are a lot of exciting topics there. One of which is this whole idea of urban air mobility. And
yeah, man.
This is one that we're leaning into.
Okay.
Quite frankly, our elected officials are very interested in this. And more importantly, our chair of our transportation planning organization, Commissioner Oliver Gilbert, tasked us, my department, the Department of Transportation and Public Works, as along with the aviation department, to figure out ways that we can accept this new form of technology to move people in an efficient manner. So we're excited about that, and more to come on how we're going to be utilizing that technology to add to our transportation services moving forward. So those are the types of ideas and the concepts and the energy that was present there at this particular event. And so we're always excited to host it.
Yeah, let's talk about that for just a minute more, the urban air mobility. I mean, I've talked to Nat Ford about it up there in Jacksonville. I've talked to the folks in Dubai about it. They're all very excited about it. Feel like it's, it's not science fiction. It's happening. It's coming. I mean, we were there at the event when they unveiled a prototype of one of the. Tell us about the vehicle and what could it do for cities, big cities here in America and around the world.
Initially, from what we've seen from some of the vendors' business models, is really establishing a origin and destination pair that moves people from primarily an airport to a specific area in a dense or downtown type of concept. However, what we continue to learn is that these vehicles initially will be manned, but the idea is that will be unmanned vehicles, and it's going to be, they can be operated autonomously. The configuration of the vehicle can be operated at a level where you can transfer passengers to and from without any type of congestion, any type of conflict with your traditional traffic that you experience on the ground. And so the exciting part about this is trying to figure out, after you have the concept take place within a specific area, how can you bring it to scale, and how can you have more nimbleness within that new technology to really help not necessarily supplant a transit trip, but support a transit system and alike and get people to where they need to go in an efficient and seamless manner. And so
Yeah.
that's the exciting part for us for that type of technology.
That's great. I mean, it's kind of like when you think about it, it might be similar, analogous to scooters. Scooters aren't going to replace a 40-foot bus,
Right.
but they're a part of the overall urban mobility scheme, which can move people around and reduce congestion, which really is, Eulois, especially for a city like Miami. It's one of the key components of public transit, right? Reducing congestion, allowing people to, appreciate more of life rather than being stuck in traffic for hours every day.
Right. Absolutely. And there's no magic bullet to mobility at this point. And so we really want to be in a position where we're accepting the various types of services that are being provided, whether it be the general public or public sector services or private sector services. We have to all work together to make sure that we're layering on these different types of modes to really create a fabric so people can get around it as efficient as possible. So scooters is a prime example of that. I've had many experiences trying to figure out ways to integrate scooters and develop a scooter program that really integrates with the transit system. And so again, you provide that menu of options for folks where they can walk out of their home or walk out of a place of business, and they have choices to be able to get around to where they need to go.
That's good. Getting them out of the car is the big issue, right? Getting
Absolutely.
them off our streets. So one thing I was impressed with at this event that John Rassant and his team at Commotion put together was the level of political support, and that there in Miami, both your county mayor and your city mayor were speaking multiple times right out front, leading from the front. That's a good sign.
Absolutely. And that's the exciting part of not only the innovation, but the fact that we have essentially consensus from not only the county, but the 34 municipalities within the county to really start to utilize this new innovation to address the transportation problem. And so as you know, and many of us know in the industry, a lot of the projects and services that we provided can only happen if you have significant political support. And so it's a good position to be in. And, you don't have to fight to get that acknowledgement to say that we need to invest into our transportation system and invest across all modes. And so from our mayor, Daniela Levine-Cava, who is always out front on transportation, she always talks about her 4 E's, which has to do with economy, environment, equity, and engagement. And all of those aspects of our 4 E's kind of are interwoven into how we're planning for a transportation system moving forward. And then the city of Miami mayor as well spoke at the event, and everybody's very excited about his participation from a tech standpoint, and he's been a true leader for the city of Miami as well. And I mentioned our one of our main commissioners that was there to help us support it. So you have it at the county level and at the municipal level, and that's very important moving forward.
That's great. You talked about innovation. I was able to spend a little bit of time with your director of innovation, Carlos Cruz Casas, while I was there. He, along with you, participated in the filming of our TV show, Transit Uplugged TV. What he was talking to me about a lot, Eulois, was your microtransit program. And I know that's a passion of his and yours. Tell us about that and where you're at, what you're hoping to accomplish with it there in the Miami area.
Absolutely. So we have a microtransit program, which is called Go Connect, and it's an on-demand service that we provide on a zone basis. And so in certain areas within the county, and the county is very large, certain areas within the county, essentially there are gaps that don't allow people from their residence to get to one of our main transit lines. And so about a year and a half ago, we launched this Go Connect program, and it really helps to close that gap. We utilize a vendor that has Chrysler Pacificas, and those are vehicles that are the right and appropriate size to provide that on-demand service. And it creates a convenience for folks to be able to get to some of our major routes on transit. And so we're trying to bring that microtransit concept to scale throughout other areas within the county. It's been very successful, and we have had a lot of requests to expand that service throughout many of our other municipal partners and areas within the county. So we're excited about that. As a point of note, we also, during the pandemic, had a similar type of program called Go Nightly. And this was something that the county realized at the height of the pandemic. So this is from March until about, June to the fall time of 2020, that as the transit demand decreased pretty significantly, there was still a considerable amount of people that relied on the service. And those are nighttime workers, hospital workers, and the like. And the county and the department pivoted very quickly and provided a service that was an on-demand service that got people to some of our main transit routes again that were still running at that particular time. And it provided service from 12 midnight to 5 a.m., which was the overnight workers and the people that were reliant on our transit service. So the microtransit concept is one that makes sense. It helps fill gaps for us. And it's a concept and a service that we're going to have to rely upon moving forward. So we're excited as been working thus far and looking at bringing the scale throughout other areas of the county.
That's great. Tell us about your agency in general, Eulois, and the services you provide. I was able to ride not only your microtransit, but a lot of the services while I was down there. But give us a scope of what you do there in Miami-Dade.
Sure. So from a transit perspective, we have three modes that we provide service for. So one is our Metro Bus mode, where we have 99 routes currently. It's really the workhorse of our transit system. About 70% of our trips are actually on the bus.
How many buses do you operate?
So we operate approximately 800 buses, approximately 1,650 bus operators. So large operation for us. And again, it's the workhorse of our overall transit system. We have two rail modes. One is our Metro Rail system, which is a 25-mile system that connects folks to the airport, and it connects folks to what is called Dayland South, which is about 20 miles outside of the core of the city. And then we have our Metro Mover system, which is a 4.4-mile automated people mover system downtown, and it connects to commercial areas such as Brickell, downtown, the arenas, some of our arts and design district activities as well. So we have a very robust system that utilizes multiple modes, and it's all controlled by our department. Now, that's the transit portfolio, but we also have the infrastructure / public works portfolio. That's why we're called the Department of Transportation and Public Works. And so we have oversight and management and maintenance responsibilities for 5,500 miles of roadways within the county, approximately 190 bridges or so, 168 miles of canals, and over 3,000 traffic signals, and everything in between our right of way and things that are attached to it and below it. So it's a large portfolio, all dedicated toward creating a transportation system that can move people and freight efficiently. And we have been going through a process where we're kind of revisioning our department, and we really want to be the world's best provider of transportation options. And in order to do that, you provide your transportation services, and then you provide that supporting infrastructure to move people and freight efficiently.
And you've got a big infrastructure project going on. I know that we talked about $200 million, 3,000 intersections, upgrading all of the equipment. Tell us about that. It's a very exciting project. People in transit understand that, unlike trains, buses have to travel on the roads. And so we need good road infrastructure as well.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned that we're trying to be the world's best provider of transportation option. And one way that we're accomplishing that is to deliver the world's largest advanced transportation management system. And that's the project that you're referencing. And so that project actually will upgrade over 3,000 of our traffic signals with new traffic controllers that will provide traffic detection, pedestrian detection, as well as bicycle detection at many of our intersections. We'll be able to collect traffic data and utilize that data to be able to more efficiently move traffic throughout many of our intersections. You make improvements to how you move traffic, that inevitably has a benefit to how you move people, and especially how we're moving people by bus, throughout the county. And so with our ATMS project, will be looking at intersections to provide transit signal priority or transit or bus or transit exemption as well. And so these are things that we're very excited about, and is bringing this type of project to bear, where in 4 years we'll have a completely new traffic management system with improved traffic controllers at all of our intersections that can manage the movement of people and freight in the most efficient manner. So it's a groundbreaking project, and definitely happy to be leading it.
You mentioned earlier the difference kind of between the city and the county. I know it's a fine line, but a lot of people think of Miami as a city, and it is, but it's also a county. Could you kind of just show us the demarcation line there? How much does the city of Miami participate in funding the transit system? Those kind of things.
Yeah, sure. So the responsibility really for transportation lies at the county level first. And so for our transit system itself, the three modes that I mentioned and the like, also the oversight over design of the type of roads, regardless of what municipality that you're in within the county, it really begins and ends at the county. We of course coordinate with the state as well on their facilities and make sure that from a design perspective, we're intertwined and on the same page there. But we work very closely with all of our municipalities throughout the county. You mentioned the city of Miami. City of Miami is the largest one by population, and we coordinate with them on all the growth that's happening, especially on the economic development standpoint, and some of the transportation services that they provide as well. So just to break this down a little bit more, we have a surtax that was passed back in 2002 that allowed the county plus the municipalities to be able to collect half a penny sales tax to go into transportation projects and or services. And so what you'll find in Miami-Dade County is that you'll have some municipalities that will take their portion and dedicate it to a municipal transportation service. So if you're in the city of Miami, you'll see those trolleys, which you probably saw. That was something that's holistically has just been funded by the city of Miami. So you have other aspects of how municipalities utilize that surtax where they may make infrastructure improvements and the like on a very localized level. For the county, our portion, our share, which is about 77 to 80% of the total pot, we are utilizing that surtax to build out one of the largest capital programs within the county's history. And that's called our Smart Plan / Smart Program. Okay. And essentially, that's a $7 billion 40-year capital investment program, which will allow us to expand our transit system and build out high capacity rapid transit within the county. And so we have 6 corridors that we're currently working on. They're in different phases of project development. And fundamentally, we will end up building all of these corridors out and fundamentally change the county's transportation system moving forward. And so it's something that the people want. It's and a lot of planning and effort has gotten into this point, and now it's about implementation. And we're excited to be leading that effort.
That's great. One of the hot topics across the country when it comes to public transportation is our need for people. We need operators or drivers, as they're commonly known. We need skilled technicians. We need staff members. I was just interviewing the CEO of MBTA recently. He told me he has 1,000 vacancies, 300 of which are drivers. When I was with you, you told me about you've been trying to get 200 drivers for quite a while. And then we see, Walmart advertising $100,000 salaries for CDL drivers for their trucks. And I wonder, how can we compete against that? Tell us how you're adapting to that challenge there and what you're doing in Miami to help recruit and retain your workforce. And how many employees do you have?
Yeah, sure. So we have over 4,000 positions, and my vacancy rate right now is we have about 532 vacant positions out of 4,000 or so employees. So, and we have about 132 vacancies on the bus operator side. Okay. So it is a challenge. I think all of us in the industry are dealing with the same issue with trying to hire not only people, but more specifically bus operators, because that position and that CDL is really gold in the industry. Yeah. And so we here at my department want to make sure that we're competitive, not only with pay, but with incentives as well to try to hire the number of drivers that we need. You mentioned the 200 number, that the 200 operators that we need are additional operators, because we just went through a planning process to re-optimize our bus system to create more frequency. And so it's an opportunity that really is going to provide greater access for a lot of our folks that need it from a transit perspective. However, if you provide more frequency, you need more resources. And that's where we are looking at trying to hire those 200 drivers. So we are pulling out all of the stops. So we're looking at sign-on bonuses of $5,000. We're looking at referral bonuses to our existing staff to help identify people that can come in through the process. We are developing partnership with a university and our community college system to help us not only do recruitment, but provide ways in which that we can identify additional people that help us hire, and doing a lot of promotional activities and trying to market the department and their services and the benefit of coming on board as a bus operator, which is really your pathway into a great career in the transportation industry. Because many folks have started off as bus operators and then risen to different leadership positions within the department. And we really want to make mention of the fact that this is a great industry, and the way you get into it a lot of times is going through as a bus operator. And so we're going to pull out all the stops. It is a challenging endeavor, but we have to be just as competitive on pay, on incentives, and on really developing a culture that fosters the way in which people can meet their potential moving forward. And so that's what we're going to do.
That's great. A big system like yours at Miami-Dade requires a level of expertise and experience that doesn't come overnight. You've had quite an interesting and great background for public transportation. Tell me a little bit about, what you did prior to coming here and what brought you to Miami.
Sure. So before Miami, I was in Denver working for the city and county of Denver as the executive director of the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure.
So a similar capacity.
Similar capacity, yes.
Yeah.
Broader portfolio, however.
Okay.
So the department from a personnel standpoint wasn't as large, but the portfolio I had was wider. I had transportation infrastructure, provided services as well, had sewer and sanitary responsibilities. And then also had a vertical portfolio where we had about 160 or so buildings that we were responsible for constructing. That's everything from firehouses to police stations. At that time when I was there, we were building out an expansion of the convention center there in Denver. And so it was a great position, great opportunity for me. And I have to give kudos out to Mary Hancock for recognizing me and pulling me away from Houston, where I was before, where I was the deputy director of the Council of Governments there, running their metropolitan planning organization. So, and then before that, I was in Washington, D.C. I worked for the Washington, D.C. Department of Transportation, a variety of different leadership positions. And I've had experience with USDOT. I've been a consultant, owned my own business for a minute. And then I had an opportunity to actually work in the industry very early on the supply chain and logistics side, where I ran East Coast operations for Walmart, actually. So yeah. I've had a very, I would say, circuitous experience and career. And it's all kind of been building blocks to get me to where I am today, which is, leading this great organization. So every step of the way has been a great experience, and would not have done anything differently throughout all those stops.
That's wonderful. Well, from my perspective, having been there several times recently, you're doing an amazing job, and the citizens and the folks who run the transit system there are well served by having you at the helm. Thank you for being our guest today on Transit Unplugged.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. Always appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you for listening to this week's, our 200th episode of Transit Unplugged with Eulois Cleckley. Now, next week on Transit Unplugged News and Views, we have Christiaan Blake of WMATA's Director of Access Services talking with Paul. Now, if you ever have a question, comment, would like to be a guest on Transit Unplugged, feel free to email us anytime at info@transitunplugged.com. So until next week, ride safe and ride happy.